This video is brought to you by Sporlan, quality, integrity, and tradition.
All right, we got a walk-in freezer they're complaining about, and they're saying that it's just not cold enough in here. It's too warm. So let's have a look back here. I think it might be iced up. Oh yeah, look at that. Don't you know? Look at that. Would you just look at that? All right, well, let's start on the roof. Let's go to the defrost clock and put this guy into defrost and see what's up. All right, I'm kind of a nut in the way that I do things, okay? Got my Vito rolling backpack. Got my Vito CTXL. You can see I like the Vito products. I got no affiliation with them, but they last, they're quality. You can actually pick them up from TrueTechTools.com. If you use my offer code BIGPICTURE, you can get an 8% discount, and then I get a small commission from that. But anyways, whenever I'm up on the roof, use a rope whenever possible. The older you get, the more knowledge you're gonna gain. The less stress you're gonna wanna put on your body, right? I've made a lot of mistakes in my career. I've fallen down ladders, different things like that. Trust me, take the time. I know, as a technician, especially as a young guy, trust me, I know. And you're gonna hear this from a lot of people. You know, you feel like you're invincible, but all that damage you're doing to your body, you don't even know it's damage. You'll start feeling it. Now, I'm not even that old, I'm 39, but I'm already paying the price for a few things. My hearing is not the greatest, my vision is not the greatest. The vision is not so much preventable, but I have gotten a lot of things smacked in my eye over the years because I wasn't wearing safety glasses and such. But the hearing, I feel like, could have been totally preventable because I've put myself into too many crazy situations. So use a rope whenever possible. Down on the end of this rope, I put a hook. You'll see right here, okay? Love this guy, and I leave it down there, okay? By leaving it down there, when I go downstairs, I don't have to remember to lower the rope down. And then when I go to bring something up, I don't have to climb all the way up just to get a rope, right? And I leave it in a way that it's not gonna bother the customers. They're not gonna have to trip over it. And then for the most part, you know, except for a very small amount, I try to keep my rope off the ground in case I start hosing stuff. That way it's not getting soaked and nasty. I try to keep my tools, you know, in as good a shape as possible. And your body's one of your tools too, so take it easy. Today, it is 110 and still climbing, it looks like. So, and I wanna say it is only 12:30 in the afternoon, and it is July 14th of 2022. It's gonna get hotter as the day goes on. So I got water bottles in here, gonna try to prevent any heat stroke or anything like that. Remember, I know this is sounding like an infomercial for your body, right? But once you feel the effects of heat stroke or heat exhaustion, it's too late. So don't let yourself get to that position. Take plenty of breaks, okay? That kind of stuff. So let's get on with the technical work, get over to the condensed unit. I had a video on this equipment, I don't know, a while back, maybe a year ago or something, where we had multiple condenser fan motors bad. I tried to talk the customer into replacing the equipment. They didn't make the decision to do so yet. I believe the head pressure control valve's not bypassing correctly. It was restricting the flow of refrigerant in the bypass mode. I think I put pressure controls on it. Yeah, it's been a mess. I think the customer honestly forgot about it because we've been getting new equipment for a lot of other places, but not this one. So regardless, let's jump right here to the defrost clock. So I said it was 12:30 p.m. It looks like the defrost clock has the right time. Let's see if it turns. It doesn't turn. The defrost clock is gummed up with sand again. Completely gummed up. All right, I think we're gonna try something different. We're definitely gonna have to change this clock, okay? Because like I said, it's gummed up with sand, but I think we're gonna go in with a different defrost clock. Anyways, let's see what we can do. I'm gonna put the unit into a long defrost to go test the heaters and let it start defrosting itself while I'm getting water hoses and everything ready. In order to do that, we're gonna need to shut off the power, make sure it's off, and we're gonna need to disconnect the X terminal because that is the last end of the defrost termination switch. And when the defrost termination switch turns on or closes, it sends power up here and terminates a defrost. So we don't want that to happen. We want it to run as long as possible in defrost. So I'm going to disconnect this, we'll turn the power back on, and then we'll confirm that we're actually going into defrost. All right, disconnected the X terminal, isolated it with a Wago just for now. We'll go ahead and turn it back on. Now, it should be pumping into defrost. The red light is on, and we're gonna wait for it to pump down. This one has a defrost contactor. So this micro switch right here will not let this contactor engage until this one is completely disengaged. So it has to pump down, shut off on low pressure, and then when that happens, this guy opens, and this guy should pull in. And it's not, guys. That contactor should be pulling in right now. So we need to test and figure out why that contactor's not pulling in, because we're in defrost. That was weird. The moment I tried to get my meter out, and then it pulled in. So it had a delayed reaction. So let's test it and see if it pulls in or if there's a delay again. So I turned it off. Let's turn it back on. It pulled right in. Something's not right here. Let's take it out of defrost. Okay. Let it turn back on, and let's try it again. There shouldn't be a delay. It should be instantaneous. All right, this is really difficult for me to explain. I went to go put the unit in defrost. The defrost contactor took a minute. I took it out of defrost, and I kid you not, 20 minutes, the condensing unit did not turn on. I went downstairs, the thermostat was calling. So I came back up here, I put my gauges on it, and it turned on before I could do anything. So we're gonna try to simulate this again. We're running about 305 head pressure, about 16 suction. This is a 404A system. It is approximately, the gauges say 112. My thermometer right here says 115, so right in that range, okay? Yeah, those are actually pushing 115 now. So it's 115 outside. So let's put this guy into defrost again, but before we do that, I'm gonna set up to be able to probe that contactor. I wanna see if I can catch that thing sticking. All right, here we go. So we're going to twist this guy into defrost. It's in defrost now. I'm gonna put my meter right here. Okay, we've got 0 volts on the contactor. We're waiting for it to pump down. It's at 5 PSI, 4 PSI. It just shut off, and the contactor instantly pulled in, 202 volts. So why did it hesitate last time? Makes me wonder if this is full of sand or something and it's not making good connection. All right, now we need to, man, this guy's got all kinds of gremlins in it that don't want to solve my problems here. Okay, so let's turn this back on. Just take it out. Okay, we're out of defrost. Now it has a digital temperature controller, so it takes a minute. The way that it's set up, that control loses power when it goes in defrost. So the control's got to boot up, and then the liquid line solenoid valve should open. We're at 6.6 PSI. I'll turn the camera when it turns back on. All right, it's open back up. We're at 18 PSI and slowly climbing. So I think what's actually happening is the ice that's on the evaporator is insulating it. The refrigerant is taking a while to migrate back up here because it's encapsulated in ice. So I think that's what's happening here. So once we get it defrosted, I don't think there's gonna be a problem there. Now we still haven't figured out why the first time that contactor took so long to click into defrost. I don't know about that. For this right here, okay, we're in defrost now. So we can test right here and we should have a pretty high current, 10 amps, but now we need to go downstairs and verify that all the heaters are actually working. All right, my evaporator's right here. We are still in defrost. Let's go ahead and check this guy. 5 amps on that heater. I don't think there's more than 2 heaters in this guy. This guy, almost 5 amps on that one. Yeah, I think that's it. Let me double check. Where's the heater circuit? Yeah, there's only 2 heaters on there. Yeah, just the 2. So both the heaters are working. So we're gonna turn off power, get it defrosted with hot water, and then we'll figure out how we're gonna fix this guy. All right, so when I defrost, I use hot water, not a torch. I don't like to wait just for the electric defrost to do it. I grab my wand on the shower setting, and do it from one side. I typically don't even apply any water to the other side. The steam will make all that ice fall off. I'll usually put a pan down just for the drain because occasionally you'll get a drip like it's doing right now. You don't want to let water get onto the floor of a walk-in freezer because typically it'll instantly freeze and it's almost impossible. It's a nightmare to get it all defrosted. So, and then if they have a raised floor, said it a million times, this is tile. If they have a raised floor, the water will get underneath the raised floor and then lift that up when it refreezes. And then they got to replace an $8,000 floor. So don't waste their money. So we're just going to get it all defrosted, and then we'll try to evaluate exactly what caused it, whether it's the defrost clock or that defrost contactor not pulling in, who knows. This walk-in drain is really draining slowly. And look at those defrost heaters too, they're totally dangling. That can't be good for that coil. I made this little thing just out of a couple fittings, has an end on it. It's great for getting down in there and blowing drains out. Just put it on an end, blast that thing, works for reach-in coolers and everything. I got this crazy idea that it would be a good idea to install a KE2 temp plus defrost freezer controller. So I'm currently knee deep and wiring this thing, ripping out all the old stuff. We're going to rob power from the condensing unit, sensors. I don't know what I was thinking starting this at 2:30 in the afternoon, but we're in it now. We're in it to win it. All right, got the controller mounted, wired, one conduit for sensors, one conduit for electrical. It's kind of cleaned up. It's not, you know, the prettiest thing, but it's polishing a turd, right? So now I'm gonna put the fan motors back in, blades back in, and then we got to go up top and rewire a few things because I'm only using 2 wires coming down, 4 and in. Everything else is getting abandoned. All right, well, it didn't blow up when I powered it up. So now we're gonna go through the settings, and I got this little guy right here. Temperature set point, enter, -10, that's correct. All right, and then I'm just gonna work my way through the settings and get everything all set up. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It started up, there was a delay for the fans, now the fans are running. So I need to go in, I made all the set points, I put it for 6 defrosts a day. 30-minute actually I did 40-minute defrosts, 50-degree defrost termination temp. Now I need to go in and make sure we're looking at the second coil sensor because I actually installed 2 coil sensors, one in each side. So I need to figure out how to get into the settings for that. I went ahead and clicked the unit into defrost so I can confirm that I wired it correctly. So I'm gonna get up in here and check the heaters. Yeah, heaters are cranking. That heater's going, and then that heater's going. Did I get them both? Maybe I didn't. Yeah, heaters are working, so that's a plus. All right, cool. It's looking good so far. Not too bad. All right, I managed to program. So my room temp is 30 degrees right now. And then if we go up here, coil temp for one side is 22, coil temp for the other side is 17. So we're seeing 2 coil temps. That way we'll get a more accurate defrost strategy. So I'm gonna put the panels on, and then we need to go upstairs and make sure everything's working properly up there. But it is because we have a temperature differential, so we know the system's running. And then I gotta clean up a few things up there. I pulled all this stuff out, so that's our control cabinet now. These 2 wires are doing nothing, they're dead. That was the X. I went ahead and put the 2 power wires, because it's a 208 volt controller, to right there. And yeah, it's just a compressor contactor controlled by the low pressure switches, and that's it. Now, as far as our operations right now, remember, this system has problems and I want them to replace it, but I just changed that defrost clock and that heater contactor maybe, I don't know, eight months ago or something, and they're already full of sand causing problems. I think that's what was going on with the defrost contactor. I think this guy has sand in it, and I bet you anything it had a delayed connection in there. So we just eliminated all that stuff and wired it to the controller now. Now the controller controls everything. We can do everything from downstairs, and this guy operates independent of itself. The only connection point between the downstairs and the upstairs is the fact that the power wires get power from here and then go downstairs. So as far as our pressures go, it's about 117 degrees outside right now. It's pretty freaking hot. It's kind of crazy too because we got like thunderstorms coming and stuff, but pressures kind of where I'd expect them to be. It looks like the temperature's kind of dropping. You might be getting a little residual air, maybe 110 up here or something like that. But I mean, I'm not seeing anything crazy. My suction pressure is a little bit low, but we do have a pressure limiting TXV. But yeah, everything seems to be okay. One last thing I want to check, because I know a bunch of people are going to ask me, is I'm going to check the pressure drop across that suction filter dryer because it was kind of frosting, kind of funky when I got here. So let's check it. So on one side we're at 25.6. Let's see the other side. And the other side we're 25.8. So nothing wrong with that. Everything's cool. So yeah, I'm going to start wrapping this up. We'll probably come back and do a follow-up, but I think all's going to be well. I came back to follow up on the equipment. Let's see, I just walked in the door. They just got a giant delivery. It's at 2 degrees inside the box at the moment. And yeah, so the customer hasn't even like loaded their product yet, but it's like insanely crowded in here. I'm gonna try to get over to the controller because I want to see the back of the coil, but I gotta go rock climbing over here. Sometimes I get these brilliant ideas and I get in way over my head. It's not that I couldn't complete that job. It's just, what was I thinking starting that job at 2 o'clock in the afternoon? I very well could have just thrown in a defrost contactor, gotten them through the night, or even just defrosted it and gone back the next morning. It wouldn't have been really iced up that much the next morning. But regardless, I got it. So went out there with a service call. I already knew when I was going out there that this was equipment I'd worked on before. I kind of alluded to that in the video. And when I condemned this equipment was back in the winter. So the customer must have forgotten. We go through a lot of stuff, so I don't have time to keep up on it. I just send emails and say, hey, it's time to replace. And then usually the equipment shows up at my shop and I go back and install it. You know, this one, it just slipped my mind, whatever. So when I got the service call, I was like, oh, that's that equipment. I was thinking it was going to have a bad compressor or something. Like I was thinking the head pressure control valve stuck open. Who knows, right? But when I got out there, found that it was iced up. Okay, so defrosted it. But I don't know if the video catches it. I mean, it kind of does a little bit. When I initially put it into defrost, the way that setup works, the defrost contactor does not engage until the compressor contactor disengages, okay? Because of that little micro switch on the side or auxiliary relay on the side of the compressor contactor, okay? So when the compressor contactor pulls out and the system is in defrost, it should be instantaneous. That defrost heater contactor pulls in, okay? The reason why we use the defrost heater contactor is because the defrost heaters pull a high current, and sometimes on systems they can burn out the relay on the defrost clock. Okay, so they use that defrost heater contactor, and I like the idea of the auxiliary relay because you have no potential of, you know, it's very hard to have potential of a defrost heater being stuck on with a compressor contactor, which can cause like capacity issues, right? So when I saw it go into defrost, I was like, hey, and I saw that on camera, you know, the defrost heater contactor didn't pull in right away. And then by the time I went to go measure, boom, it pulled in. Okay. Now I wasn't able to duplicate that, but the only thing I could think of, because the only thing keeping that defrost heater contactor from pulling in was the auxiliary relay on the compressor contactor. So the only thing I could think of was that auxiliary relay was full of sand and it wasn't making a good connection, okay? We know that the defrost clock, which I believe I replaced it in my last video, which was a while back, but I believe I changed the defrost clock, all the compressor or the compressor contactor, the defrost heater contactor, the auxiliary relay. I changed all that because, to refresh people's memories, I found that it had a bad condenser fan motor. I think the bracket was broken somewhere downstairs, upstairs, and I was having a technician bring me a bunch of motors and brackets, and so that's why I was like, oh, I started changing contactors and getting into that. And then I diagnosed a head pressure control valve that wasn't bypassing properly, and, you know, it just led to all kinds of stuff. But so it's, you know, we're burning through contactors on these, right? And we're burning through defrost clocks because they're getting full of sand. So in this situation, I had picked up that KE2 low temp plus defrost controller, right? You can use that for medium temp too, by the way. In the programming, you can change the defrost from air to electric, which I might start doing that. I might start using that for walk-in coolers too. It's pretty cool. But I was able to relocate all the defrost clock, all that stuff down into the box. And so I just had to have a dedicated power source going downstairs.
Now, I wasn't afraid to do it. It was just that, like, what was I thinking starting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because it was a bunch of wiring, using my head, you know, just like doing all this stuff. And I think I got home at like 7:30 that night, which, you know, it's not the end of the world, but it's funny because I ended up going back out the next day. So while I was there working on the walk-in freezer, I put in that new controller and I wanted to follow up on it, but I didn't have a reason to think that I needed to charge the customer to drive back out there to follow up, right? I didn't think there was going to be anything wrong. I just, for peace of mind, I wanted to get my eyes on it. So while I was working, I walked around and I happened to find that one of the ACs had a condenser fan motor that was not running when it was 115 degrees. Now, there'll be another video for that, but that particular condenser fan motor, it's a whole thing that happened, and I'll cover it in the video. But that gave me an excuse, right? Because I didn't have a motor with me anyways. So went back to the shop the next morning, which actually was the day that I'm recording this outro, July 15th. I went back out this morning. So I was actually at that location last night. So I went back out this morning with a condenser fan motor, thinking I was going to have to change a condenser fan motor. And that gave me an excuse to get my eyes on the box. So the little bit, you know, last 10-second clip on this video was me just walking back in, just saying, oh yeah, everything's good. You know, box was down to temp. They had just loaded it. So that's why it was at like 0 degrees instead of -10, because they had just put all that food inside that box. So anyways, it gave me an opportunity to come back, follow up. So far, so good. I really do like the controller. The only gripe I have for the controller is that, they give you a bag full of flag connectors, so the right angle slip-on flag connectors, and I don't have a tool to crimp the flag connectors, let alone, even if I did have a tool, they gave me uninsulated flag connectors, so that wouldn't have worked even if I had the tool, because if I buy one of those insulated flag tool connectors, it's going to be for insulated connectors, like I just said. So anyways, whatever. And I used regular slip-on connectors, like the female, you know, press-in style, and they're a little bit long. So the cover goes on, but you can certainly feel the wires behind it. So that's like the only gripe I have about that. I mean, the controller's huge, right? So, I mean, I don't see why they couldn't have made it an inch deeper, because then you would have been able to use normal connectors and you wouldn't need flag connectors. So regardless, other than that, I mean, it was pretty simple. I will say that, you know, I had to run a lot of wires to it. I could have consolidated wires by using wire nuts or Wago connectors, but I don't know. I just like doing the wires. So basically you have 3 dry contacts, 3 dry relays. So you need 208 or 115 volt power, can run on either or, to power the controller. And then you have 3 contacts. You have a fan contact, you have a defrost contact, and you have a compressor contact, or solenoid contact in our situation. So you had to run a common to each one of those contacts, and then you had to have a switched leg coming out of each one of those contacts. So that's, what is that? 2, 4, 6. You need 8 wires going into that controller to make it work properly. Now, again, I could have ran less wires and just had like you know, a wire nut or a Wago connector jumping to the common, because really you only needed 1 power leg for each one of those contacts, but I didn't. I just ran 8 wires in there. And other than that, I really have no complaints. I will say that I did set it up for double evaporator sensors, and that's really important, because with the KE2 stuff, I have worked with it in the past. One of the flaws that I find is it doesn't defrost the coils enough. So I like having double evaporator sensors. You put them at each end, so that way it averages between the two. And or I think it averages. I can't remember. I know I've looked into this before. I don't think it averages. I think it looks at each temperature or something. But anyways, I do double evaporator sensors, so it's much better that way. Yeah, I think I remember talking to KE2 one time, and I don't think they average. I think they're looking for that temperature in each sensor. But you know, I was able to set it up and install it. I thought it was going to be difficult, to be honest with you. When I got done wiring it, I was like, oh man, here we go. We're going to have to do the programming now, but it's pretty simple. So time will tell, but I might start using those. I think I was a little bit silly for doing my first install of one of these an hour and a half to 2 hours away from my shop out in the middle of nowhere. I was a little bit hesitant doing that, but it's pretty simple. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. You know, I really appreciate y'all making it to the end of the video. If you guys have any questions or things that I should have covered, feel free to send me an email or leave a comment, hvacrvideos@gmail.com. Keep in mind, if you have any interest in supporting the channel, you can go to my website, hvacrvideos.com. I have merchandise available. We got hats, shirts, beanies, sweaters. We have men's and women's t-shirts. Yeah, check it out. It's a great way to support the channel. Also, if you're interested in purchasing any tools, I mentioned in the video in the beginning, go to truetechtools.com. I have an offer code Big Picture, one word. You get an 8% discount on most of their items, and I get a small commission from that, so it helps the channel. You can support the channel via PayPal, via Patreon, via YouTube channel memberships. You can do it, you know, there's all different methods. Those are all, it's all in the show notes. There's links and everything if you're interested in doing that. Every little bit helps, so I appreciate it from everybody. Yeah, and that's awesome. So I try to go live on Monday evenings, work permitting. I haven't been able to do it in like a week or two. Been kind of crazy, but I'm trying. Oh, I also announced on social media, keep in mind too, that I am in the planning process of a complete system replacement on my home HVAC system. And I've already been reaching out to people. I have a good friend of mine, Adam, my buddy from the HVAC Overtime Show. He's helping me out, kind of helping me to do a load calculation on the house. We're doing 3D modeling. We're going to do blower door tests. We're going to do duct leakage tests. We're going to, I mean, I have this whole idea, and we're just in the planning phases of it all, but I really think that this is going to be cool. It's going to be a little mini series on my channel. We're going to show, you know, the process and the thought that goes into everything, the actual installation. We're going to show, you know, the evaluation of the envelope, the house in general. We're going to do, like I said, blower door tests. We're going to get high-end thermal imaging cameras to look at the house and figure out where the biggest infiltration spots are. You know, we're going to try to fix certain things, and we're going to evaluate. That's one of the things I want to do. Again, we may not get to all of this because my head's kind of exploding with ideas, but you know, I want to show my existing system. I want to show the issues that I have with it, the airflow issues, the noise issues, the size. I'm pretty confident it's an oversized system with undersized ductwork, and I want to show all that. I want to get it out there, you know, that it's more than just changing an air conditioner, right? Because we need to address the envelope. So I have all kinds of cool ideas. I'm looking for feedback. I'm looking for help. I'm looking for manufacturers that might want to work and talk to me about different things. Now, understand something. If you are a manufacturer and you watch my videos and you want to work with me on this process, I got to give you a big caveat. I'm a jerk, and I do things my way, okay? So I don't want people to get their feelings hurt. I'm not about just promoting products. I've never been that person on my channel. I only like to promote products that I like to do. So if you do want to work with me, just understand that it's going to happen my way. And I have no problem paying for everything myself if I have to, okay? Of course, I'd love to help promote someone's product or something like that if it's something I want to work with. I've already gotten some people reaching out to me with new products that I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. Okay. And I'm not a salesperson. I'm not out there to just promote any crap that someone sends me. And that's not my style. And I hope you guys, my viewers, my normal viewers know that. Okay. But I'm talking to any potential manufacturers. I doubt anybody's watching at the end of this video, but regardless, I want to work with you, but you just need to understand it's going to be on my terms, and we'll have to figure some stuff out. So I probably just turned everybody off as far as a manufacturer, but I just like to do things my way. So keep in mind, let me know in the chat if you guys actually made it this far. But yeah, if you guys have ideas or manufacturers you want me to work with, feel free to tag them, send them an email, let them know, you know, what I'm doing, because I'm looking for exposure. I'd like to get some cool stuff on here. I'd like to get, you know, you, my viewers, to be able to see some really interesting products, right? And I also want to be practical with you guys and show you guys that, like, hey, you know what? Yeah, there is a really high-tech, fancy system, but maybe the price of that system will never repay itself. So it's really maybe not practical for me to use that system, even if it was given to me for free, because, hey, nobody's ever going to get a return on investment on something that expensive with the energy savings that they're going to get in the house. Maybe there's better places to work on the insulation in my house and the envelope and air sealing and different things like that, instead of going with the top level, highest end communicating variable speed capacity, blah, 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 blah system, right? So we're going to weigh all this stuff out, and I want to see different things, and I want to show cost comparisons. So anyways, I went off on a tangent, but you can clearly see I'm all into this project. This is going to be fun, you know. Tentatively, if things go well, it's going to happen this fall/winter. So we're going to be doing it, you know, and we'll see. It sounds like a fun project, so I'm excited to do it. So anyways, now that I went off on a huge tangent, like I said, let me know if you made it to the end. Feel free to shoot me an email if you have any questions. I really appreciate y'all, and we will catch you on the next one, okay?